On the 3rd of October, I attempted to take my own life. That was the day I didn't think I'd ever speak again. The day that was supposed to be the end of my story. I didn't want a big event. I didn't want a grand finale. I just wanted to disappear quietly so no one had to deal with it. My last video, giving up in media, was supposed to be my goodbye. I didn't try to say it out loud, but that's what it was. I thought it'd be poetic in a way to end things through something I love doing, making videos, to leave quietly through art. I remember editing that video like I was closing a book. The feeling that I wanted to feel for years, the feeling I yearned, the feeling of finality. I uploaded the video and tried to say goodbye. I made a noose with my belt and hanged it on my door. This was it. This was the last time. It's not like I haven't attempted before this, but this time it felt different. I felt free. I had a smile wearing the noose, knowing that I could finally attempt the thing that I wanted to do, the thing that I yearned for, a quick end. Then the noose got loose and I fell. I grew up alone. I was removed from school when I was 13. I barely had anyone I could really talk to besides my family and my friends I made in primary school. Most of my teenager years was spent inside my own head, overthinking and replaying all the what-if scenarios. What if I didn't get removed? What if I didn't pick on people because I had a superior complex? What if I wasn't an asshole? Over time, all those scenarios became normal towards me. I accepted the fact that I couldn't change the past, and I had to live my life knowing that this is how it is. Maybe in a couple of years it will be better. Years passed by and I'm 16 now. People used to tell me that I was quiet or shy, like it was some personality trait, but it's just because I didn't have a social life for years. I felt that I didn't belong anywhere, and when you don't feel like you belong, it's easier to disappear. I'd watch my friends grow into themselves in school. I watched everyone that I associated with grew up, and I realized that no one really knew me. I was alone. I developed a pessimistic mindset. Then I met someone who made my life a little less empty. She reminded me what it felt like to be seen again. A year passed and I'm 17 now. I managed to get into college. It was something I should have been proud of, a new chapter, a chance to start over, but honestly, I didn't feel anything. I made some new friends that I cried with, laughed with, but at the end of the day, I still felt alone. Everyone around me seemed excited about growing up, about their future, about what's next, but for me, it just felt like another phase in my life that is going to be a distant memory. I go to class, sit down, and pretend like I always do. People around me would talk about dreams, plans, relationships, and I didn't have any of that. I was just winging my life at that point. I never knew what I wanted in my life. I just knew that I need to continue living and hopefully be lucky enough to have a fulfilling life. I wasn't bad at studying. I've always been an above average student, the kind of person who can do well enough without really trying. Grades were never the problem. If anything, they were the only thing that made me feel like I was doing something right. But even with that, college didn't feel like a victory. Everyone around me was meeting new people and falling in love. I just sit there watching from a distance, like I was behind some invisible wall. I've always been a bit of a hopeless romantic, the kind of person who still holds on even when they probably shouldn't. There was someone I cared about. Things between us were complicated, never simple. Even when we drifted, a part of me never stopped hoping that maybe one day we'd figure it out. But love, at least for me, always seemed to come and go like a season. It showed up, make everything feel alive for a while, then fade, all because of me, leaving me colder than before. It's a strange kind of loneliness, wanting connection so badly, yet feeling like it's something that doesn't belong to you. Around this time, I also got my first job. It wasn't bad. It gave me something to do, a reason to get up, a sense of independence. For a while, it made me feel like I was finally moving forward, but at the end of the day, I still felt like shit. I'd smile, crack jokes with my coworkers, act like everything was fine because I wanted to be professional, because that's what adults do. But the truth is, when I clocked out, the silence came back. After I graduated college, I thought things would finally start to make sense. I got my second job not long after graduating, and honestly, I hated it. Every day felt like walking into a place that was slowly draining me. I didn't complain because I wanted to look professional, to be the kind of person who could handle anything in life. But deep down, I was falling apart. The stress was constant. I'd wake up already exhausted, knowing exactly how the day would go, and still do it anyway. So I quit. I was doing all of this to do something in life instead of waiting because I planned to continue my studies to Australia. I had months to prepare, but it all happened so fast. One chapter ended, and another started before I even had the time to process it. I had to say goodbye to my friends, to the place that shaped me, and to everything that made life feel familiar. I still remember the day I left, standing in the airport, trying to keep it together, but the second I hugged my friends goodbye, I broke. I cried quietly at first, then harder when it hit me that I was really leaving. There was someone I hoped to see at the airport, but life doesn't always give you that closure. Everyone said it was a new beginning, and maybe it was, but for me, it felt like I was erasing myself. All those years of slowly trying to put myself together, and suddenly I had to let it go. A new country, new people, new everything. It sounded exciting on paper, but living it was different. The first few weeks in Australia were tough. Everything felt new and strange, but I was trying to stay positive. I still remember one of the orientation days. Everyone was walking around, talking, laughing, already forming groups, and I was just there. I tried to blend in. I tried to act like I wasn't out of place, but deep down I felt completely alone. At one point, I sat down on a bench by myself. It was bright and all loud around me, but I felt unseen. And before I even realized it, I started crying. I told myself to stop, that it was stupid to cry at something like this, but it hurt. I had a roommate for a while to keep me from being alone. Having someone around helped. We'd talk, hang out, just exist in the same space, and for a while, that made things easier. The first 2 months here felt like the part of the story where everything was supposed to change. Everything clicked to me. I really thought this was it, that maybe moving here would finally make me happy. I had new friends. I went out more. I laughed again. I went to parties, to a nightclub, did things I never thought I'd do, be an introvert like me. For a while, it felt good. It felt like I was finally catching up to everyone else, like I was part of something again. However, I felt like that lifestyle didn't suit me, and eventually I stopped. A couple of months later, I got a job as a night auditor at a hotel, and honestly, I was kind of proud of that. Getting a job here wasn't easy. Some students can't even find one, so I knew how lucky I was. It gave me a boost towards my ego and made me feel a little more independent, like maybe I was finally doing something right. I took it to pay for a single room in my student accommodation because my roommate was leaving, and honestly, I didn't want to meet someone new. I thought living alone would be better, but it wasn't. Living alone made me feel more isolated. I worked nights, and that meant I barely saw anyone. My job's quiet. It's just me at the front desk all night. I only work 3 days a week, but the schedule messed me up completely. I started to skip class, and my friends here were always free on the days I was working. But that job was more than just work. It was a necessity. If I stopped working, I wouldn't be able to pay for my room. My parents could have helped, sure, but my ego wouldn't let me ask. I felt like I needed to be responsible, to prove that I could handle this on my own. At some point, I started drifting again, and after a while, I just stopped talking to my friends. Not because I hated them, but because I didn't want to bother them. In my mind, I felt like I was useless, just someone passing through their lives, someone who'd eventually be forgotten. I told myself that it was better that way, to just fade quietly before they realized I didn't belong in their world. It's like the past repeating itself. Everyone else is moving forward, and I'm just standing still again. It doesn't help that my friends back home were also growing without me, too. After a while, everything started to blur together again. Days, nights, they all felt the same. I wake up tired, go to work, come home, and just lie in bed, staring at the ceiling. I stopped feeling much of anything, not sadness, not happiness, just a quiet emptiness that followed me everywhere. It's weird how fast life can slip back into routine. I thought moving here would change everything, but somehow I ended up right back where I was before, isolated. The only difference was the view outside my window. I also started drinking and smoking. At first, it was just to relax, but in reality, I love knowing the fact that those dependencies are making me sicker. And I love knowing that I'm going to die from it one day because I'm too scared to kill myself. So I started going back to the one thing that always helped me make sense of things: media, movies, music, books, anything that could make me feel again, even for a bit. They were like small reminders that emotions still existed, even if I couldn't reach them myself. Some nights alone, I'd just watch movies, not because I wanted to, but because it made the silence feel less empty. That's also when I started making videos again. In the beginning, it was personal, something I really cared about, a way to say things I couldn't say out loud. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being that. I started making them just to distract myself, to fill time, to stop my thoughts from spiraling. I didn't put much care into them anymore. I just needed something to keep me occupied. It wasn't passion anymore, it was survival. And in the middle of all that emptiness, I kept thinking about her, the one person who saw me when I couldn't see myself. No matter how much I distracted myself with work, with media, with pretending, she'd always find her way back into my head. It's strange how someone can leave your life but still live in every corner of it. Even when I tried to forget, even when I tried to move on, she was still there. She came into my life during a time when I didn't think I deserved anyone, and somehow she stayed long enough for me to remember what it felt like to be seen. She wasn't perfect, and neither was I. We had our moments, sometimes close, sometimes distant, like the tide coming and going. But even when things fell apart, I still found comfort in knowing she existed somewhere out there. She made life feel softer, lighter, and when she was gone, everything dimmed again. I don't blame her. If anything, I'm thankful, because for a moment she reminded me what it felt like to be human. And I think that's why it hurt so much to lose her, because she represented everything I wanted to believe in. Eventually, all of it, the loneliness, the guilt, the exhaustion, it caught up to me. I reached a point where I couldn't see myself moving forward anymore, and when I finally decided to end it, I wasn't scared, I wasn't angry, I just felt like I gave up. People talk about moments like that as if they're full of drama or noise, but it wasn't like that for me. It was calm, too calm. I remember everything feeling muted, like the world had gone underwater. I expected to feel something: fear, regret, sadness, but there was nothing, just stillness. When I woke up after it failed, I didn't cry, I didn't even think. I just lay there again, staring at the ceiling, realizing how easy it was to almost disappear. There wasn't relief, there wasn't gratitude, just confusion, like I didn't even know why I was still here. That's when I understood how far gone I was. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of living like this forever. That numbness, it wasn't pain anymore. It was just emptiness. After that, I started planning things again: trips, goals, videos, little things that made me feel like I was still moving forward. But the truth is, I was just going through the motions. Everything I planned felt temporary, like it didn't really matter if I finished it or not. It was weird. I could picture a future, but I couldn't picture myself in it. I smiled more, I told people that I was fine, and sometimes I even believed it for a few minutes. But deep down, I knew I wasn't living, I was just surviving. I had this quiet understanding with myself that if things ever got this heavy again, I knew how to leave. I didn't think about it all the time, but it was always there, like a backup plan for when life got unbearable. I wasn't living without fear, I wasn't living without meaning. Every day felt like I was trying to pretend I was okay long enough for it to become true. But it never did. I was alive, but I wasn't living. One night I decided to rewatch The Silent Voice. I didn't plan to, just appeared on my screen, and without thinking, I clicked play. It was the third time I seen it. The first time I was too young to really understand it. The second time I watched it with someone who mattered to me. Back then, it felt like a beautiful story about forgiveness, but watching it again alone years later, it felt different. It felt personal, like someone had quietly written a story about everything I had been feeling. A Silent Voice begins with Shoya Ishida, a boy who bullies a deaf girl named Shoko Nishimiya. What starts as childish teasing quickly turns cruel. He mocks her voice, throws her notebooks away, steals her hearing aids, and when Shoko finally transfers out of the school, the entire class turns on him. The same people who laughed at his jokes suddenly treat him like the villain. Shoya, once loud and confident, becomes an outcast. The film jumps forward to his teenage years, where he's completely isolated. He avoids eye contact, speaks only when necessary, and lives each day under the crushing weight of his own guilt. That guilt becomes his identity. He convinces himself he doesn't deserve forgiveness or friendship. He's not living anymore, he's just existing out of habit. Watching that, I felt something I didn't expect: recognition. Because I know what it's like to carry your own silence like a punishment, to feel like every attempt to connect with people is selfish, like your presence itself is a burden. There's a powerful image the film uses. Shoya walks through the halls and imagines X's covering everyone's faces. To him, people are faceless because he can't bear to meet their eyes. It's shame visualized in the simplest way possible. And that hit me harder than any line of dialogue ever could. I felt that exact kind of invisibility, surrounded by people but completely unseen, because I can't stand to see myself reflected in them. Eventually, Shoya decides to find Shoko again. Years have passed, but he wants to apologize. When they finally meet, she smiles at him. Not a forgiving smile, but a fragile one, like she's trying to ease his guilt even though she's still hurting. That interaction sets the tone for the rest of the film. It isn't a story about redemption, it's about the slow, uncertain process of trying to exist again after you've destroyed your own ability to feel worthy. As the story unfolds, Shoya and Shoko's relationship becomes more complicated. They're both broken in different ways. Shoya is drowning in guilt, Shoko is drowning in self blame. The tragedy of A Silent Voice is that both of them think the world would be better without them. When Shoko tries to end her own life, the scene is quiet. It's not dramatic and there's no build up. Shoya saves her, but he falls in step, slipping into a coma. In those final moments, the story shifts focus from guilt to connection. The people around them, their friends, their families, start to face their own flaws. They visit, they argue, they cry. The film stops being about one boy's guilt and becomes about the shared responsibility of being alive with other people. The ending is quiet but powerful. Shoya walks through the school festival, and for the first time, he looks up. The X's over people's faces fade away. He finally allows himself to see others, and more importantly, to be seen. That moment doesn't erase his past, but it gives him something he hasn't felt in years: permission to live again. When I finished watching, I just sat there for a long time. I didn't cry right away, I just felt still, because A Silent Voice isn't really about forgiveness or redemption. It's about the slow, awkward, painful process of living after you've convinced yourself that you shouldn't. It's about trying, failing, and trying again, even when you don't believe it'll make a difference. That's what stayed with me the most. The idea that effort itself matters, that just showing up even when it feels pointless is a kind of survival. Watching Shoya look up at the world again reminded me that I could too. Maybe I didn't need to be better or fixed. Maybe being here, still trying, was enough. Because A Silent Voice isn't just about hearing, it's about listening to others, to the world, and eventually to yourself. And for the first time in a long time, I did. I want to say that I'm sorry to my family, my friends, and the people who cared even when I couldn't see it. I know what I did scared you. I know it hurt you in ways I'll never be able to fully understand, and I know hearing this now might not make it better, but I still want to say it. I'm sorry for the silence, for pretending I was fine, for laughing when you asked if I was okay. I thought keeping it to myself would protect you from it, that if I carried the weight alone, no one else would have to, but all I did was build a wall between us. It wasn't that I wanted to die, I just didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to carry everything without collapsing under it. I didn't know how to ask for help without feeling like a burden. And when every day started to feel like a cycle of pretending, disappearing felt like the only honest thing left to do. I'm sorry for the things I never said, for the calls I never made, for every time I convinced myself that you were better off without me. You didn't fail me. I just don't know how to let anyone in. I'm not fixed, and honestly, I don't think I ever will be. Not in the way people talk about healing like it's some clean cinematic transformation. But I'm still here, and that has to count for something. Some days I still wake up feeling like I'm carrying a ghost version of myself. I still have mornings where everything feels heavy for no reason, where I don't know if I'm living or just existing. But there are also moments, small, fleeting ones, that make me glad I stay. Moments that aren't loud or dramatic, but gentle reminders that life still has weight. Like hearing a song I used to love and realizing it still makes me feel something. Or laughing at something stupid with a friend until my stomach hurts. Or walking home at night and noticing how the air feels colder, softer, and realizing I'm still here to feel it. I used to think survival meant being strong, like you had to conquer your pain to overcome it. But I don't think that's true anymore. I think survival is quieter. It's choosing to stay even when you don't have a reason to. It's taking small steps even when they lead nowhere. It's telling yourself not today, one day at a time, until the days start to mean something again. I'm not optimistic, not really, and I'm not healed, not even close. But I've accepted that maybe life doesn't need to be perfect or even happy for it to be still worth something. Maybe being alive, even when it hurts, is enough of a reason to keep going. Maybe being here imperfect and uncertain is enough. Hey Tunku, if you're watching this again, I hope you're doing better. I hope you found yourself. I hope you found something that makes you feel alive again. I hope you've forgiven yourself for the things that you couldn't control and for the things that you thought you could. I hope you've learned that it's okay to be soft again, that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to still be trying. I hope you're proud of yourself even if no one else knows the full story. You don't have to be the person you used to be, and you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to keep showing up for yourself even on the days when it doesn't feel worth it. And if you ever find yourself back in the same darkness, remember this: you've been there before and you made it out. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to stay, because staying means there's still a chance for growth, for joy, for something you can't even imagine yet. Thank you.